Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we're going to hit one of our biggest, most popular parenting topics. It is about bullying and how to protect your kid, how to keep your kid from being a bully, but the things that you can do, the signs that you can spot. My guest is our Healthy Families consultant, Alvean Lyons.
Hi, Robin.
Welcome back.
Thank you, thank you.
This topic, parents just want to keep talking about this, right?
It's huge. If we look at the national statistics, we've got 3.2 million students who report being bullied each year.
Wow.
We've got 160,000 students who skip school daily because of bullying-related issues.
So it's hurting their academic career. It's hurting, that's a serious thing.
It's actually hurting all three of the facets that we always talk about in terms of social, emotional, and academic success. Because we've talked before about kids being able to stay afloat on that sea that they navigate. And all three of those facets are affected when we talk about bullying, which is part of the reason that parents find it such a hot button topic. And then you have 10% of students who dropping out over bullying related issues. So just the statistics alone are alarming enough for us to recognize that it's something that we have to keep part of our conversation, because it really does make an enormous difference in who and what our kids experience in life.
Okay. So how do we tackle this giant, depressing I
issue?
think the other thing about as parents that makes this so hard is it always happens when we're not there.
Yeah.
Like we can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't intervene.
It's kind of the
on
boogeyman.
the school bus, or it's at school, or it's walking to or from,
Yeah, it's kind of the boogeyman. It's that thing that hovers in the shadows, and you can't always put your hand on it. You can't grab it. You really feel a little helpless sometimes in being able to control it also, because it's the same thing we often talk about as parents, that gentle balance between independence and codependence and interdependence, and finding that just right thing to equip your kids to navigate the world socially, but to not be a victim of the world socially also, because that is absolutely unacceptable. So how do we save them relative to those pitfalls?
Right.
So we're really looking at it, we always try to find very simple ways for parents to remember strategically. So we're looking at it in terms of the pits that the kids can fall in, our children can fall in, in terms of our acronym. So if we start with P, let's focus on the prevention piece for just a second. You pointed out something so perfectly in just a second ago. It often happens when we're not around. Bullying is very frequently reported as taking place when there are not adults present in large social environments. So one of the things that they say to help minimize the bullying experience, particularly if your child's been experiencing being picked on a bit, is to make sure that they know strategically where to place themselves so that they are in a position to get an adult's attention. If you know that the playground, for instance, if we're talking about our younger age kids, seems to be a problem, and particularly on the far side of the playground, where kids are outside of earshot of their teachers, is a problem, encourage your child to play on the closer side of the playground where there are adults and teachers that they can reach out to. Very important, because positioning can make a difference. Kids feel a sense of inappropriate freedom sometimes to take advantage of each other when they know that nobody who can do something about it is watching or listening. So if you have a small child who's in that situation, make sure you teach your child strategically where should you position yourself, that you can still enjoy, as you should, your social experience outside. But if there are places that seem to be danger zones, we need to keep our kids out of those danger zones. Secondarily, as a parent, when we know that there's a danger zone on the playground, it is your right to contact your child's teacher, school guidance counselor, or administrators to let them know that there seem to be some repeated issues that are taking place in this particular part of the school, whether it's on the playground, whether it's outside before the buses come, whether anything that is considered school property is absolutely the responsibility of the school, and they want to know. Hampton City Schools really cares about their students, and they want to know what's going on. So if you know something, then let the schools know where those things are taking place so that they can respond appropriately. And if, God forbid, there's not an appropriate response, you have a mechanism by which you can say, I did this, I did this, I did this, if you have to take that beyond your typical channels. But if we're not communicating back and forth, then we don't even have that opportunity. And one of the things that kids say all the time that are being bullied is when talking to adults, the most frustrating thing is feeling like nobody's going to do anything about it.
Right. Nobody's taking it seriously.
Absolutely. So it's important that we are taking steps, and they're measurable steps. I did this thing, I did this thing, I did this thing. You follow appropriate protocol. You don't call the superintendent first. You can't talk to your teachers before we go there. But if those things have not been handled, then you go up that ladder if necessary. But more times than not, if somebody's made aware of it, something will be done about it, particularly in this school system. So that's the first thing. We want to make sure that we prevent those experiences if we can, particularly if we know that there are danger zones. We want to watch out for those.
Okay.
Then the second thing is to make sure that kids know, it's never okay. Sometimes kids struggle with bullying and don't say anything about it because they think in some way they brought it on themselves. Whether they're not wearing the right clothes, they don't hang out with the right people, they're not athletic when everybody else seems to be athletic, they're not one of the quote-unquote cool kids, so to speak. When that happens, kids feel like it's their fault that they're being bullied. And let's be crystal clear, it's never okay to be bullied. It doesn't matter how peculiar, unique, and different you are. Lady Gaga is a perfect example. You know, she talked about being bullied so many times when she was younger, but the reason the whole world knows her name is because she is different. And while it's not about whether or not we agree or don't agree in terms of what it is she represents, when we're talking about the issue of bullying, the fact is that a lot of times the unique kids are special and gifted and talented. And because that's different than your everyday child, they feel like something's wrong with them. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. And we need to make sure as adults that we are communicating that message to our kids. Because just because we love them and assume they understand that does not mean that that translates when they walk outside of our homes and are dealing with those social dynamics. We need to make sure they understand that they have a right to be treated well or at least respectfully in all environments. So it's not okay. And if you feel like something is being done to you that is outside of what you deem appropriate or you feel uncomfortable about, you can let somebody know, and people will care. There will always be somebody who cares, but don't assume that you're not important, because you are. Whether it's to your parents or to your teachers or to just some responsible adults, they are important. So we want to make sure that they know that it's never okay.
Never okay. All right.
Then teach your kids not to bully. A lot of times we think that we're only talking about the kids that are being bullied, but you can't be bullied if there isn't a bully. That bully belongs to parents also. So we need to pay attention to whether or not our kid is on the other side of the bullying spectrum.
You never want to think that.
Yeah, because you think that they're wonderful.
Well, you know, but bullying somewhere essentially tends to come from wanting to be bigger, better, tougher. And so the bully and the person being bullied in some ways have that kind of thing in common. And so yes, I think kids sometimes glom onto that as a way to make them feel better about something that they don't feel good about the same way the person they're picking on does.
Absolutely. And knowing that sometimes the behaviors that we allow in our own household.
Ooh, parents, cousins.
Yeah.
I have a comedian friend who does a whole routine on, I didn't need bullies in school because I had cousins.
Like I had them at home.
Yeah.
And that's exactly true. Like kids don't wake up and magically discover that I would like to be a bully today, or decide I want to be a victim of bullying today. Those are dynamics that exist in other places first before they often exist outside. So you may have the shy child at home that doesn't stick up for themselves when things are going on amongst their siblings. Then you may have to teach that same child, even in the home, that it was not okay that your big brother did something to you, or it wasn't okay that your sister was picking on you or pulling your hair or messing up your clothes, or whatever it may be, but that it's okay for you to stand up for yourself. It's not okay even at home with the people who love each other.
Right.
So do understand that it's definitely not going to be okay outside in the street with everybody else that you have to deal with. But sometimes there are things that we're not paying attention to in your own family dynamics that may be representing themselves outside.
Or you think, oh, they're brothers, they'll work it out.
Oh, yeah, it'll be fine. Oh, he's just my shy, quiet child. And then you find that same thing is part of the reason why he's letting it slide at school, because the people who love him do it to him at home.
Right.
So we think it's okay for people who do not love him to do it to him at school. And the same thing on the opposite end. You're the sibling who's picking on the other siblings, and you think it's perfectly fine to do that to the smaller, less capable of fighting back sibling. And because you can out-talk them because you're older and find ways to be able to excuse your poor behavior, you're using that same thing in your social environments outside. And now we're seeing that bullying behavior taking place. We need to make sure that we are teaching our kids that it is not okay to be the bully either. So you have to be careful about what it is that you're allowing, because anything we allow at home, we will see in some mechanism outside.
Right.
So we have to be conscious parents. We must parent in a very conscious manner, because we want to put out good, capable citizens into our community that add something, and add something positive, might I add, to the social environment. So we've got to teach our kids not to do that. And then finally, S, you also have to teach your kids to stand up for others. If you see it and you don't do anything, you're just as bad as the bully.
And usually a bully doesn't act alone, There's other people behind them, whether they're doing it or whether they're just watching it or cheering it on. And if you can diffuse that.
Absolutely. It's that sort of pack mentality. If I get in a group of people and then you get all of the excitement and the adrenaline. And unfortunately, as we've added the social media element, you even have people who are recording these things and putting them up on social media as if it's entertainment while somebody is being abused socially. Those things are simply not okay. And so if your kids are standing back and watching this happen, that is a moment as a parent that you have to step in and say, listen, I hold you just as responsible as the bully in this scenario. Because while you may not have hit that person, you watched somebody be abused and didn't say anything or do anything. Consider yourself in that situation. How would you have felt if you were the person who was being hurt or picked on? And finally, we have the S in our pits, avoiding those pits. Stand up for others. We have to teach our kids that it's just as important that you stand up for someone as anything else that's going on in that scenario. And to imagine yourself in that situation. If you were the person who was being picked on and other people were just standing around watching that happen and not doing anything about it, they are just as guilty as the bully themselves.
Right, because bullying doesn't generally happen in an isolated one-on-one incident. It can,
absolutely,
but usually the bully wants that crowd approval. They're doing it for a reason. So if you can take that away, you can help potentially diffuse the situation.
That is absolutely true. But we don't always get a chance to control that, which is the frustrating thing.
Right.
That we don't always get a chance to diffuse that attention that they're getting from that crowd. But if we're teaching individually each of our children that they have to stand up for others, even if it means just going to get help, to let somebody else know if it's not right in that moment, but immediately after, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, today I saw such and such happen. I don't want anybody to know that I said anything, but it's really not okay how they're treating them. It's okay that you're the anonymous tip in being able to save somebody else.
It is, because I think it's so hard for the person being bullied to take that step,
absolutely,
especially if, as you say, they don't get that it's not okay. So I'm being picked on because I'm fat, it's my fault, I'm fat, I'm different. And for someone else to help stand up, I mean, we all need that.
It's so true. We need each other. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be able to navigate this world completely on our own, and from whether we're a child or an adult, because bullying even happens at adult levels in professional environments,
yes, it does,
which is unfortunate. The fact is, all of those things are still true. Every one of those things. Making sure that we are wise about how we navigate those spaces so that we feel safe as we go through this world socially is important on every level, but it's what we train in our children when they're younger has a lot to do with who they become when they're older.
Okay, so you're gonna you encourage kids. Okay, we're going to start at the beginning with pits, because pitfalls is what
Absolutely.
that is. So prevention.
Absolutely. If we know that there are danger zones.
Right. Keeping them out of situations and teaching them to keep themselves out of situations where things happen.
Certainly,
so on the
especially if they recognize
on the bus,
it.
you sit near the bus driver.
Absolutely.
And it may take them out of their comfort zone. It may mean they're not sitting next to the people they think are their friends, but if it's keeping them safe, that's the most important.
Absolutely. Until and if there's something that we can do to change that dynamic, the first thing is making sure that the child is safe. So prevention is important.
Prevention.
Yep.
To teach them it's not okay.
Yep.
It's
and
just never okay.
Never is okay.
It's not your fault.
Absolutely.
It's not. And to say something. I mean, that wasn't quite one of them, but once you realize it's not okay, then you're a little more open to telling an adult, a
because
teacher,
if you think
a
it's
parent,
okay, you're more likely to keep it to yourself.
You're shamed, yes.
Absolutely. So it is not okay, and you should tell somebody that you are not okay. Absolutely.
Teach.
Yeah.
Teach your kids not to be a bully. Don't put up with it. If you see that behavior in them, explain to them why it's not right. Don't allow your siblings to bully each other because they're going to repeat that pattern. If it's successful, if they get away with it, they
will try it other places. Absolutely. Bullying has two sides. We've got to teach the children not to allow themselves to be victims, and we've got to teach our children not to be the victimizers or the bullies. But both of those children come from parents, and we have to make sure that we are parenting so neither of those are true.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And then S, stand up for others. For yourself, but also for others.
Absolutely. Everybody matters. Everyone matters. And we need each other to care about what's going on.
And not buy into the bully mentality. So kids may think, oh, I can't stand up for that person being bullied. Maybe they're being accused of being, I don't know, gay or whatever
it is.
Because then they'll think I am. Or,
right.
But it is that secretive bullying atmosphere that is then allowed to continue. So if you stand up for someone who is different, you're helping them, but it also could potentially help you because a bully isn't going to stop at one person.
Unless somebody stops them. That is absolutely true. And even if you don't have the courage to overtly stand up, at least have the courage to inform someone so that someone else can get involved in that scenario and fix it. It's not about everybody knowing that it was you, but it's about the fact that you don't allow it to go on without you being part of solving the situation to help save somebody else.
And as parents, one of the things you also said, which wasn't technically in the acronym, is that we get involved when we know something, but that we work through channels. We don't get extremely upset and go straight to the top.
Absolutely.
We have to work through channels and give people an reasonable chance to get involved and to help remedy the situation.
Absolutely, because your teachers care. Your teachers care. And Hampton City School teachers really do care. Nobody's perfect, but we can't ask them to be mind readers. We have to share with them what's going on, go through those appropriate channels, and get the answers that we need to take care of our kids.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. So we've got some tips now to help us teach our children how to deal with bullying if they're in that situation on either side, and to help teach their behavior so that they don't become the bully, they don't put up with bullying. If they see it, they get involved. Hope that helps give you some ways to go as a parent to help work on this difficult issue. Thanks for watching.